Hi, hello everybody. Well, we are going to continue with this sculpture. I haven't touched it since the last time. I wanted to finish it in one session, but it was impossible because if you were there, I get stuck with the ice. I didn't find a solution for the ice. So let's see if I can solve it today. I hope so. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here now in live or later when you saw that. And I want to thanks very specially to Kirsty because she sent me a few pictures of references of people that looks a little bit like this woman, and that helped me a lot. And also, I was looking for the woman yesterday. I went for a walk on the village, just looking at her, and I didn't find her, but I found another one has a little bit similar. And between these things, the pictures of Kirsty and this other woman, I think I have to change two main things of this. Uh, the first one, well, before that, if you weren't here when we start this phase, I'm trying to make an ostrich woman. There's a woman in my village that she has a very funny face, and she looks a little bit like an ostrich. So it's what I want to do is this bird woman. So that's the profile. This is really in the front, more advanced than the nose, and there's a few more things. And things I have to change. The first thing is I have to change this angle here because that second woman I saw yesterday, she has a very funny eyebrows, making something like that. That helps a lot to build this bird shape here. And of course, this is not really what I want. So I want to make this angle, like a triangle, something like that. That's one of the things. And the other one, it's the eyes needs to have a very short part here and very big part here. So this is going to be, I think, the solution for this, if I can solve it. So let's try it. Well, welcome. I see there's people here. I don't know who is there. I hope everything is working and you are seeing well and listening well. So welcome and thank you for being here. Thank you especially to my Patreons because these kind of videos are possible thanks to them. I make them in live, and I think I'm going to keep this on YouTube. But that's for sure thanks to my patrons. They help me a lot. So if you are not one of my patrons and you like this content, just think about it. Well, there's a cat fight outside. I don't know if you hear that. I think this is going to help a little bit. And here I need the eyebrows making this shape. Remember that if you have seen the video about the eyes we made a few weeks ago, um, this shape is always going, okay, just let me show that. This bone shape here, it's always going down like that. And the eyebrows is something that is going over that, growing from here, and it's making this way. So it's a combination of these two shapes, really, what we want here. So let's build a little bit the bone first. While I'm working, I try not to be focused just in one thing. For example, now I was checking the symmetry and I discovered that this part was lower than the other one. So I'm solving that now. I I think I'm a little bit chaotic while I'm working, but it's what I pretend because I don't want to be focused just in one part. That's very dangerous because we need to see the relationships with it, between all the parts all the time. It's very easy to get lost. So that's why I'm jumping to one part to another one. And that's probably not the best way to show how I sculpt, but it's for sure the way that I sculpt. I'm also cleaning the shapes now. I did the wrinkles last day just to show you how I was planning to do it. But I want clean volumes now. And also I'm going to bring these eyes a little bit more to the front because if we see that from the profile, you know I like the the angle of the eyes always a little bit like that, not flat, not parallel to the face. So that's why I'm going to make them grow a little bit. And it's also because I don't like to have very dark parts around the eyes. I want to keep the eyes with light. That's why I don't like to leave big holes here, very deep parts. Something I learned from the Egyptians. Well, the Egyptians and all the archaic culture. That was a very important discovery for me. Well, you can say hello if you want, so I will know he's there. It's always nice to feel uh, that I am not alone. Just say hello. Hi, Kirsty, you are here. I didn't see your message before. So thank you for your help, really. Yesterday, I had another moment I want to share also with you. You can see the result on my lens on Patreon and also on my stories on Instagram. Um, I had a revelation moment, so I just sculpted a thing that I was not planned at all, and it works very fast. I think I sculpted in an hour more or less. It's a mask, and it was fun. It was really there were a lot of time that I didn't have this inspirational moment like yesterday. Of course, inspiration exists, but we have to learn to work without it because it's not the most usual thing in our job. but we have to enjoy it when we have this moment. What I did yesterday. Just saying she's very curious about seeing how the ostrich is developing. It's not going to be an obsession for me to make evident that she's an ostrich. I don't want to make a joke. I just want to make a character, and this ostrich concept is helping me, but it's not going to be um, an obsession, if that makes sense. Another thing about the images you sent me yesterday, Kirsty, is that those woman had the nose wider than this one. So maybe it's something I could try. Let's try it now. I think yes, definitely yes. I was watching a series the other day. It's called Snowpiercer, the series, not the movie. And one of the actresses, she has a little bit this bird face, a little bit. I don't know the name of the actress. Sorry. You had the problem just the other day that this sculpture was too similar to another sculpture I made a few months ago. But that's something that happens if we leave our brain to work without forcing it. He just tries to repeat all the time the same. That's one of the things I try to explain always, that we have to cheat our brain, we have to force it, and don't let it win this battle. And that's something you can see in a lot of artists, that they are repeating the same faces again and again. Sometimes it's very useful because it's kind of useful and expressive, and you can recognize the artist the first moment. And sometimes it's even artists I love do this kind of things. But I try to, I mean, when they do that, the most important part of this art is not usually the faces. So it's something about the story of the character, it's about the position of the character. So it's not a big problem if they repeat the same face, because it's just a feature. But for me, the face is always the most important part. I think I'm making always portraits. Sometimes there are portraits of imaginary people, but the portrait for me is very important. So it's useless and it's just silly to make the same portrait again and again. So I have to force myself to find these different personalities, different people to make their portraits. If that makes sense for you. I still don't know if I'm going to keep this character or not. It depends how it looks finally. And if I do it, I will build around her a very complex thing. Maybe Mongolian ornaments or something like that. and she's going to be one of my science fiction wise woman. They're inspired basically on the Bene Gesserit from Dune, of course. And if we can make the nose, it was like narrow before, but I'm going to try to make something more like that. And it's going to be more birdy, I think. Yes, I think we are starting to have her. Sometimes I have secret real people that are references for my work. I remember I said the other way to Kirsten is here that one of my inspirations for Calix, Calix is probably my most known piece. A lot of people want me to repeat Calix again and again. Um, and he is based a little bit on Tom Holland, a little bit, but more on Íñigo Errejón, that is a Spanish politician, has this face of surprise expression all the time. Look at that. I'm going to try to repeat a little bit this shape that is here, a little bit. We are going to try to, well, I'm trying all the time to repeat shapes and repeat, you know, uh, proportions and lines because it makes the piece more um, compact, not just a puzzle of different things. It's one of the things I learned, of course, from Jasan. I have to talk about Jasan one day. I have to make a video about Jasan. I'm always talking about him. He's not known, and there's not a lot of information on the internet. That's one thing I think is very sad. And I'm discovering that not everything is on the internet because there are not a lot of information from Jasan on the internet. And I think it's very unfair because I think he's one of the biggest artists of the 20th century, really. And also it's um, scary because how many good artists are not on the internet just because they are not there? I don't know why. I'm sure there's a lot of amazing artists that we don't know anything about, and that's sad for them and for us. I'm going to fill these wrinkles because I want the clean volumes for now, and I'm going to repeat these complex shapes later. I like when a sculpture looks fresh, but my way to do that is always build the new volumes, the new shapes, and we can just make these fast touches at the end. I think that's a good combination for a good volume and freshness of the tool marks, and when things look like they have been made very easily and fast, they look fresh and better for us. But if we don't build the volume, even if we are going to cover everything with wrinkles and details, if the volume is not there, it's going to be too superficial, maybe. So we need to build this and give a volume and a sculpture identity to every part of the sculpture. If not, we can make something fresh and expressive, but it's more like Rodin. I don't like too much Rodin. I think it needs the structure and strong expression of the volumes. I have to make a video also about what is a volume for me. I'm always talking about volumes and shapes, and it's very difficult to explain. Of course, when I'm cleaning the shapes like now, it's always less interesting, but it's going to be useful at the end. It's going to look better when I finish it, really. So you see, I have here everything is in the position I want, but it's very dirty. It needs to be defined. So that's why I'm going to clean a little bit the volume. And the volume is about give this random points position a unity and an identity shape. So this is this line, for example. When is it finishing and when is it ending? Each one of the shapes. That's one of the things I want to say when I'm talking about shapes and volumes. I don't care too much about this part because I'm almost sure that if I finish this sculpture, she um, she will have something here, and something is going to cover the head. So that's why I don't worry too much about everything. Yeah. Same with the neck. She probably will have something. I am still not sure. I am still not sure if I'm going to finish it. So. You see, this is a triangle here, and I'm trying to keep it because these shapes is going to look that this triangle is more or less the same proportion that this one. It's not going to be very obvious at the end, but it's helping me a lot now. Mario Rubio is saying, I congratulate you. Thank you very much. Well, I would love to see all the process. I'm writing from Guatemala. Muy buenas, Mario. A veces hago los vídeos en español, también te lo digo, que intento alternar el inglés y el español. I have the whole process um, of the last emperor, one of my sculptures, and I had all the clay process. It's on my Patreon. Don't know if there were 12 sessions. I don't remember exactly the number, but they were a lot of days. Another reason I'm cleaning these shapes like that is, okay, if I build the volumes just with fresh touches like that, it can be very interesting. But you know that I love to carve the plaster later, and if I let big holes there, it's a very big problem for me when I try to carve it because I need the material to define all the shapes. So that's why I try to don't have um, try have I try to have all the material I need to make the sculpture later in plaster. Well, I finished this part and we are going to the eyes because that's something we have to do, and it's the center part of the piece. Of course, the eyes it's what we look when we are looking to someone. That's why it's the most important part. And one thing I have discovered is that the eyes is the most important part. It's the part where we try to spend more time when we are sculpting, but we don't need to make more details on the eyes than in the other parts of the face. We can sometimes, but um, be careful with that. That's why I'm not trying to make more details on the eye than anywhere else. Try to make the eyes. They can took a lot. I'm not saying that I'm making them fast and I don't worry about them, but I'm not trying to make more to add more definition to the eye. That's what I'm trying to say. But of course, I want the eyes to look exactly what characters need. What do you think for the moment? Do you think she deserves a final character? Have to finish this sculpture or not? For the moment, I mean, I'm not going to take the decision right now, of course. A veces hago los vídeos, antes I'm talking to Mario. A veces intentaba hacer los vídeos bilingües, a veces en inglés y a veces en español, pero era un lío. Pues ahora prefiero hacerlo un día en español y un día en inglés. La semana que viene, si todo va bien, haré un personaje parecido a este, pero diferente, en español. Was saying that Before I was trying to make the videos in Spanish and English at the same time, but it was too crazy. It was too crazy for me and for the people who was listening. So that's why now I prefer to make videos or in English or in Spanish. So probably next week I will make another character, another bird lady, but very different. She's not an ostrich. She's a gruya. I don't know how. What's the name for gruya in English? Another woman. This I saw them together, and maybe I'm going to make her in Spanish and live next week. There's a little bit of Marlon Brando on Godfather also on this sculpture. I didn't realize it. Of course, we have confessed references, but we have also a lot of secret references that we don't know when, even us, even ourselves, when we are working, we don't know exactly what's happening in our mind, and it's good to feel free to use all these images and let them flow a little bit freely sometimes. Well, this is more or less done, okay? And let's go to the eyes. So as I said, the eyebrows are here, and I think this expression now it's helping a lot. What if the eyebrows are more going to the center? Yeah, there's something I don't know. Well, you're not are not seeing it here, but sometimes I'm sure you have seen it. You have seen my working videos when you can see me working. Sometimes, and well, I'm going to say a very disgusting thing, but I think it's important. I like to work with wet clay on, uh, well, soft clay on wet, hard material. So I prefer that this clay on the sculpture is harder than the clay I'm using in my hand. And sometimes I want it very, 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 very wet. And the best way is to make something like that. Let's see if I can show you. You have the clay here, and it's just doing that. The secret is this is going to be wet, but I don't going to have clay on my tongue. It's usually working, but sometimes don't. It's strange and it doesn't taste so good. But if you do it fine, it's okay. It's not too risky. Kirsty's saying that she also thought of Marlon Brando. Yes, I'm thinking. Sorry, I'm going to the eyes now, but I was thinking now that what happened if this is bigger? No, it's not enough. Okay, now let's go to the eyes. Okay, so this volume is going to be here. This volume is going to be here. She is going to have big eyes because she is an ostrich. But I want her expressive, so remember that I'm going to use this direction here. So this eye is going to be lower than this one, and this one is going to be really asymmetrical to the other one. And after that, what I want is this distance is going to be short. The eye is going to be big, and this part is going to be bigger than this one. Okay. Okay, when I try to make asymmetries with the eyes, I try to not move the by of the eye. The what is going to change is the position of the flesh around the eye, but I don't want to have one eye really. Uh, what I mean is these points has to be more or less in the same point, in the same line. That's very important. And more or less at the same distance. And after that, they're going to be down. So the direction of the eye is this one. So this is going to be here. Yes. I mean, it's not just about making the same eye moved one higher than the other. They don't have to be really different eyes, but with the same structure underneath. Okay, the first thing we are going to make is to try to, I like to carve it. So I'm going to use my tool. I don't remember the name for this tool in English. In Spanish, we call them vaciadores, empty makers. You remember that I said that before. And I love the name in English, empty makers. So I'm going to call it empty makers. It's because it's about taking the material. When you're trying to make things like that, is when you think that maybe the chamotet clay is not the best way. No, it's not the best thing because you have always this grain that is helping a lot in other moments, but in moments like that, it's just annoying. But the perfect material doesn't exist, so we have to accept the good things and the bad things of each one of them. Now that I'm seeing it from this point of view, I see also that she looks a little bit like an older version of, I don't know the name. I'm very bad with names. You know the kid from Game of Thrones that was we all hate him, hated him. I don't remember. I don't remember. He also has these big eyes. I don't remember the name. Mario is saying that she looks half witch. Yes. Well, one of the sources of these characters, of this collection of female characters, are the Bene Gesserit from Dune, and they are called usually witches in the book. So yes, of course, it's like a futuristic sisterhood of mm, wise woman. Yes, they can be considered as witches. The mouth is going to be bigger. Mary is saying, I was wondering how do you work without water? Okay, I have the secret. No, I have water also, and I use that a lot in summer. But now it's not too hot here. And Mallorca is well, it can be very hot, but it's always very humid. So play is drying, of course, but uh, not so fast than in other places. I remember in China um, was drying too very really fast, or in Madrid, I think it's faster too. Yeah, it's more or less okay. Okay, and here this shape is going to be more or less the same, but here is going to be split. So I'm going to use the empty maker again to create these changing volumes. So this line is going to be growing there. Remember, I don't want a big hole here. Joffrey, the King Joffrey of Game of Thrones. Yes, I think she looks a little bit like an older version of King Joffrey. Remember to look at this, at the shapes all the time from different angles. I'm moving and I'm if I'm working here, I'm moving all the time. I'm looking it from the side. I'm looking it from below. It's not a fixed position. We need a lot of movement and changing the point of view to see the shape really, how it is. This is very important. I tried to record that with a GoPro in my head, but it was a little bit uh, tiring to watch. Okay, and we are going to make the same here. So this shape is going to move a little bit. If you work with a non-chamoted clay or with plastiline, you can really build the shapes with this tool, with the empty maker. But with chamoted clay is not really the best option. It's good to remove the material when there's too much, but you always need to finish it with the finger tool. I call them all these kind of tools. I call them thumb tools because they have the shape of the thumb. Now it's also a good moment to decide where is she looking, because I know that I'm not making the this part of the eye. I'm not drawing it in the sculpture because I want to be able to change it later with the paint. But even so, when I sculpt it, I always think that there's one point of view, even if I change it later. And that's because the eye is not really a ball. It's not a ping pong ball. It's a little bit narrower when where the eye is looking at. So we have to make it a little bit on the sculpture. Okay. Now let's go to this part here. Um, Also, I'm changing the clay I'm using here. One thing I do, I will show you another part. I usually have the clay here. It's better if you have something from in plastic like that. But now I don't have, I don't want to use that. So I'm trying to keep this part always wet, so it's not absorbing too much water, and it's keeping this clay fresh and soft. That's one of these things that I have learned with the ages, with the years. Do you like this face, Christine? Should I have to finish her as a character? We have to find a name for her. When I'm deciding the names, I try to have rules for them. So all this series of Bene Gesserit, of wise woman from a futuristic world, all the names have something in common, and I'm sure you have discovered already what this uh, thing in common. Okay, what I'm doing now is add more material here because the eye is always trying to make this kind of shape. Let me have a pencil. We have a pencil. Okay. If can you see here? Yes. If this is the face from below, this is the nose. You have the mouth here, and these are the eyebrows. That's a normal face. The eyes are not making this. The eyes are making this, but after that they are going again to the mountain. So every volume in the face is trying to climb this mountain, and they are all going there. So that's why I add now here this part of material. So do you know what all these names have in common? Have you discovered that? I will say that in a few minutes if you haven't seen it. It's a very silly thing. It's not a big mystery. If you see them together with the names, you will see what they have in common. Okay. Now I'm going to add material here because I want these old eyes have more gravity and more softened parts here. So I'm going to add just that. But I don't want to make just a big water balloon. I need here this dark, that this is going to be light, and I need a dark part here because you know that for me, this part, this little step here is very important. And we are not going to see this step if we don't have a dark part here. So that's why I want to keep this dark part. And this is here. Well, and here it's important to decide how is this going to finish. Usually this part is going to be underneath that one, usually. So that's why I'm going to finish the shape, and I'm going to add a little bit more material here. This is going to make the eye a little bit bigger, and also it's going to allow me to close the shape correctly here. Well, I said before that it's important to decide where is going to look, where is she going to look, and I haven't decided yet. Well, I think it's going to be a little bit long today, but we are going to finish it. Um, now this is part is tedious, but when I finish the main volumes of the eyes, it's going to be the fun part about making wrinkles. It's going to be funnier than this. Okay, and here I need also this material because the eye is going to fall on that part. And again, I don't want a very young water balloon here. I'm going to try to make it more complex volume. It is flatter here and it's becoming more round here. If it was a young person, it's going to be more like one big curve. Okay, and here, if she's going to be very old, and she is going to be very old, well, not very, very, but yes, a little bit, we can add material for the wrinkles. I usually do that later, so I'm going to keep it like that for the moment. Okay, have her here. I need to cover that. There's a small hole here. And here I don't care too much now because I'm going to make it later with the plastic. I'm going to make all the details and all the volume endings and all these kind of things. This is going to be decided later. Now I'm just making the structure of the volume. I mean, usually I'm not finishing one eye and making the other one. This is always risky. But I want to explain you all the process of everything, so maybe I'm going to regret it now. Okay, where is she looking? We could make that she's looking at the front, but I think we are going to make it because everything is going a little bit on that direction, and I'm going to make it more clear later. Uh, I'm making more clear this direction from that side, we are going to make her look at side here. And that's going to affect the shape of the eye because this part, and I knew it before, I decided that, but I didn't explain that. I'm going to add a little bit more of material here, even if when I finish everything, I'm probably going to erase these lines. And the same here. And this is going to affect a lot of the shape of everything because you know the eyeball is pushing the skin and it's changing the shape here. That means that I need to add more material here. That means that we are going to our drawing again. Yeah. If we usually think with the eyes like that, in this case, it's going to be more a little bit. I'm exaggerating a little bit. That it's going to be like that, and this is going to affect all the shapes here and here. It's just very subtle thing, but I think if we make it, it's more life when it's finished. That's why I usually don't use already made bowls because they are too cold at the end, and I want to be able to play with this shape a little bit. Sometimes I do especially when I'm making animals where I don't want a so human look, but for humans, I don't like it. Again, there are people that they are using them and they are making better eyes than me. So I don't think I don't want to say that it's a bad thing, but it's a thing that I don't like. I think you can see. Well, let me finish that. I can see what I was saying before about making this volume too powerful. can see that this is very flat here and it's rounded. If I was making a more powerful volume, she's going to look more young if I make something like that. And it's not what I want. Okay, we have everything done, and now I think it's just about having fun. What do you think about the face? Do we need to change something important? Well, I need to clean a little bit the volume here, and we are going to have fun with wrinkles. Sometimes even we can add more volume to the eyebrows to make very big and thin shape. For example, Alonso, my sculpture Alonso, has this kind of eyebrows, and they they work very well. And I want to generate a little bit more the asymmetry of the expression, so this is going to be higher. Okay, let's go. Now I'm going to use the plastic because the plastic is making okay, if I just use the tool, it's going to make a very silly line. I know you are not seeing that. Sorry. Let me show you here why I'm using a plastic. Uh, okay, if I'm just using the tool, I'm just making a very silly line. It's not adding more information. It's just drawing something like this. Yeah. But if I'm using the plastic is adding more tension, so it's making something that I think it's a lot more interesting. So let me draw this for you. I'm going to make one and the other. Especially we can see that when if I make it very strong, so I make a very strong line and I'm going to make a very strong line. They look very similar here, but I promise you that they are different. You can see that this is very hard and this is softer. And this affects a little bit the volume. So the difference about using the plastic or not using the plastic is if we make a section, that's the shape we want. This is clay and this is the air. If we are using the tool, we have just this kind of detail. But if we are using the plastic, we are adding like a fake volume information because the clay is going to make something more like that. And it's more interesting, more organic and more alive. That's why I'm using the plastic. So let's use it. Okay. We can use the tool we want. I use this one because it's not too thin, and I'm going to draw the main lines for the moment. So I'm going to start with the main lines. I don't want to make them too deep. You can see how this part is already looking nicer and cleaner than this one. Because we have to think about, is this line going in this direction? Is this line going there? So in an ideal world, we will try to make the volume like this to show that this shape is going on. It's not always possible, but if we can, it's good. Of course, we have to try to not break the. in the mouth, I can use a little bit more of strength to make this point deeper than before. And now I can have fun just making nice. Of course, you have this is more drawing than sculpting. Okay. Sometimes the clay is too wet, and now it's too wet. So I have a few solutions for that. The first one is you can see that it's too wet because the clay is sticking too much to the plastic, and it's adding texture. It's not nice. So one solution is to wait until tomorrow or a few hours. Another one is fire, but we have to be careful with that. I'm drying it a little bit. And another solution, it could be, and maybe something more, where talc powder. Okay. Another solution is using talc powder. You can apply it everywhere. And this is going to dry a little bit the clay if it's too sticky. And the good thing for with even with the fire or with the talc powder is you are drying just the surface, but it's already soft underneath. That these two ways are better than waiting, because if you wait, everything is going to be harder. So now we have a like a dry surface on a very soft material. That's amazing. Okay, what I'm going to make a point here. I usually use the plastic also with one coat or two coats, depends if I want it more strong or less strong. And here I just can start drawing. And I was saying before, this is more about drawing than sculpting. And again, I'm not trying to make something hyper realistic. I don't try to replicate the reality. I'm explaining the reality. So I can decide what's the level of detail I want. For example, I don't care too much usually about the little points of the skin. Sometimes I do just in the nose and in a few specific places, but I'm not trying to replicate shapes. I'm using the wrinkles to show directions. And here we can add, because if I make the wrinkles here, how do you call these wrinkles? We call them in Spanish chicken leg. Why? If I just make these lines, it's going to look too flat. So here I can add a little bit of variation. So I'm going to add a few variation lines with volume. And don't try to be too repetitive. And now I'm going to use that to draw. Okay, you can see the difference of texture here and here. This is new clay, and it's sticking to the plastic, so it's making a little bit this disgusting texture. I don't like. I'm too lazy to put powder again. And another thing we can make sometimes is just to push the tool and is creating like organic shapes. Don't make it too much because we don't want to break the volume. And that's why we need a very clear, very structured volume underneath because we are going to make all these variations and we don't want to lose the identity of the shape underneath. Okay, let's make the other eye because we risk to lose it. And one thing I like to make also is like this line very parallel because it's making this light here and it's giving more impression of thin skin. The feeling for that is more playing with a pencil on a paper. So just try to enjoy this part. It's very different to the sculpting process. Kirsty's saying I like to give her a grayish white curly wig out of a real sheep hair. Yeah, don't know what's going to happen with her after that. And after Gare is saying, imagino que la adición del talco es para. He's asking about the talc powder. No, el talco es para secar la superficie del barro, no tiene más. El talco es muy fino y yo estoy utilizando un barro que es bastante más granuloso que el talco que uso. Por tanto, no tiene la función de añadir grano a nada, simplemente es secar un poquito la superficie. I was asking if I'm going to say it in English because maybe it's a question that is interesting for someone else. Yeah, she was asking if the talc powder was to add texture or grain to the clay, to the skin, and it's not because the clay is already textured. So, and the talc powder is thinner than the chamota of the clay. The talc powder is just for drying the clay. So if I want to dry everything, I can use the talc powder. But if I want to dry just like this area here, best way is just a little bit of fire, and that's all. Gracias a ti por tu pregunta. Hoy está diciendo el vídeo en inglés. A veces hago los vídeos en español y otras veces en inglés. Pero intento tenerlos separados porque si no es un lío. Okay, I don't want too much wrinkles here. It's not really logical. So I need to remove them. Skin here is very, very thin, so I don't want too many texture going on. Okay. Place here because top powder they didn't arrive here. And you can see how this part is funnier. But the key for that is you can play with this part if the volumes are good, but you need a structure underneath. If you are trying to just to draw these kind of things without a volume texture, a structure, it's not going to work. At least for me, I think it's not going to work. Well, do you have a name for her? Well, the key for the names for my Bene Gesserit woman, or this wise woman from the future, it's all the names begin with H. Erminia, Ermelinda, Irana. I'm trying to have this kind of rules because they help me to, to make it more clear for me and also to give an impression that there's something coherent between all the works. Okay, let's go here. Again, this is about drawing, and I want a big angle here. And sometimes just with double plastic, just pushing, you can get really natural shapes that you can finish just drawing again. I'm going to use these lines also to explain all these volumes. These lines allows us to see the volume even if the lighting was not good. If you have seen sometimes the drawings of Henry Moore, he sometimes doesn't use shadows for explaining the shapes. He's using imaginary lines on the volumes. And I think it's very useful. And we can use them here, for example, explain how this is round. And we are going to see this volume from different points of view and bad lighting. Of course, it's always better to have a good light, but not have it usually. Well, look at, I was making a mistake that I was making the same distance between wrinkles. And we have to avoid that. We have to be organic and we don't want exactly order with that. A little bit chaotic, just a little bit. We have the order underneath, so we can play now with chaos and we can break sometime a few things. Sometimes don't make the lines always perpendicular to the surface. So we can just make it very flat, and this is going to be very interesting shapes. And don't make wrinkles everywhere. There are places like here that the skin can be very, very, very thin, so it's not going to be really wrinkled. It's going to be here, of course. And sometimes what you can do is just pushing the clay also. I'm I'm pushing the clay. So this is like really this volume is going on that one. It's not just a line, I'm pushing it. So this is going to be very smooth, but it's going to be wrinkled again here. And now here I can make like a big break lines. Don't try to be too repetitive here. So Okay, and we can use the same technique from before, that we can add a little bit of variation on the wrinkles. So this one, there's going to be another thin volume going here. Just just a few. Don't make it too much. We have the general lines now, and I'm going to make small. I'm going to change the plastic because it's too dirty. Oh, well, this is an old one. So I have these first lines I made. They are stronger, but now I'm going to make thinner lines that they're going like secondary wrinkles. And it's sometimes about pushing. Now I'm going to push here in a few points. You're going to see how it looks so organic and natural. If you remember my sculpture, Ebenezer, it's a very wrinkle faced and it's made like just what I'm doing here now. So you can see how pushing I'm creating these holes. It's a little bit like skin or fabric or strange thing. And the same here. I want a big. There's a tension. Too repetitive. You see that? It doesn't work because it's too repetitive. These two shapes are exactly the same, so it doesn't work. So I'm going to change it. One, two, and the other one is going to be more close and thinner. Okay. You see, it works better now. And now this tension is about this volume here. So I have to match these lines. It's like this is going to continue and finishing here. And I have to, of course, I have to understand that this is a bone, so it can be so deep. That's why here, because this is just flesh without bones, it can go more inside than the other part. And the same, we have a bone here again, so we are not going to have very extreme wrinkles around the bone because it's a hard structure underneath the skin. And of course, if we want, we can make. I don't like too much to make these kind of things, but we can do it if you want. You know, we can make really like she was a witch. Can add a small volume here. I repeat, I don't want to abuse about that because I'm losing the structure of the shape underneath. But sometimes, and there's a lot of that on Leandra, sometimes we can make something anecdotic like that. Again. Well, I hope it's not too boring. It's being long now. So I'm going to just to finish this part again and we are going to finish the video. at least I have shown you all the process. I think it's good. I know that maybe you are not going to see the whole video. Of course, I wouldn't think it's too boring, but you can jump from one step to the other, and I will probably make a fast version of this. I think she could have been more ostrich, but it's going to be enough. Well, and I think we can leave her like that, because if I finish this, well, this point here, this part here, and we are going to stop after that. Um, she's not angry, so I'm going to make something relaxed there, but I need a little bit of wrinkles, so, but nothing too deep. And here there's an interesting thing that we have crossed wrinkles sometimes, because we have this one from when we are angry that we can see, but also we have those odd ones that make these kind of shapes. But now everything is relaxed, so there's not going to be anything too big. But we have to draw just the lines. And where they met, sometimes they make like a big accident. I'm not very happy with this. And of course, we could add the same here and here. We can add a few variation volumes that is going to make things more believable. And I'm not going to be symmetrical. But I'm not very happy with this part. But as I said before, probably I'm going to cover it. So that's why I don't see it too much. Well, forget that part, please. And that's the face. Let me show you the face in different positions. And I will probably finish her, but I have to make small details like the holes in the eye and in the nose and more small things. But I hope it was enough for you, and I hope it was interesting to see the process of the creation of this face. And please tell me if you think she deserves to be a character or not, or if she's going to be destroyed. Because I think I'm going to make something with her, but I'm not completely sure for now. So thank you very much, and I hope it was interesting for you. And remember that this point of view is very interesting for me, it's very important. And see you very, very soon. Thank you for being here.